Hello everybody, welcome to Dark Souls 2. My name is Alarian, and this is part of the Safer Souls series. In this video, we are going to be taking on the Ancient Dragon at the end of the Dragon Shrine, right after Captain Hammer gets out of my face. Alright, with him gone. Alright, there is a prerequisite to following this method, and you do need to have 32 strength. And the reason for that is that we're going to be relying very heavily on the Gyrm Greatshield in this fight. And that's really the only major prerequisite. The only other item that I recommend, as I probably would recommend on most fights, is a Chloranthy ring for the extra stamina regeneration. Alright, now the reason that we're going to use the Gyrm Greatshield is because it's really the only Greatshield out there that has 100% fire resist as well as outstanding stability. And that's going to allow us to absorb the Ancient Dragon's most dangerous attack and just keep on going. And this is where this method differs from a lot of the other methods that are out there, and I've tried several of them, and most of them are about avoidance, but the Ancient Dragon's main attack it really has a huge range, and avoiding it, I found for me, was rather difficult. So somebody had suggested trying this method to do it, and after 4 or 5 frustrating attempts at, getting partially through the fight and then finally just taking a bad luck hit and dying, I tried the Gyrm Shield and I killed him in one shot. Now, as I said, you do need to have 32 strength, and you are going to be absorbing damage, so you do need to have a bit of stamina. I will tell you, on new game, the minimums of 32 strength and 20 stamina work just fine. So if you're following a strength faith or a strength dex faith build, you should be alright. Alright, so we come up to the fog wall, and just as a point of disclosure, I did actually die before recording this because I forgot how to block with a shield in my right hand. Alright, so warmed up, and we're going to enter the fog wall, and the first thing we're going to do is head off to the right so that we don't get hit. And this is the attack that we are going to punish. In this fight, there are only 2 attacks you're going to see. Now, Ancient Dragon has a lot more than that, but because of the method we're going to follow here, we're always going to be baiting out one of 2 attacks. And the first is this. He's going to turn towards you, and then he's going to start to breathe fire in a forward cone. So I call this cone of fire. I think most people call it that. And that's the one that gives us the safe opening to attack. The other attack is the one that's likely to kill us. And it starts with him flapping his wings and flying up in the air like he is here. And then he does a pulsing, large-scale ground AE. Alright. And that is what most of the community, I think, calls the Rain of Fire. And that's the one that really needs to be avoided or dealt with, because that's the one that kills most players. Alright, so a little fact about the Rain of Fire. The way it works is when he goes up and starts breathing down, it actually pulses up to 3 times depending on how close you are to him. If you're very close to him, which we should never be at this point in the fight, it will pulse 3 times. If you're a bit further away, like I am through pretty much this entire fight, it'll pulse 2 times, and then if you're on the very edge of it, it'll pulse 1 time. It's very important that we are always staying back so that we're taking no more than 2 pulses. And the reason for that is because we are going to actually block it, as you can see I'm doing here. So I've got the Gyrm Greatshield, and I've actually got it equipped in my right hand, which is a little odd, but it is the best method I've found for consistently making sure I'm blocking and getting the full block. So I have it in my right hand, and as soon as he starts to fly up, I equip it, and then I hit Y to two-hand it, just like I was two-handing a weapon. And then at that point, you need to hold down R1, your normal light attack button, to block. So we are main-handing and dual-wield blocking with the Gyrm Shield. And as you can see, I'm taking the 2 pulses, and the first one depletes most of my stamina, but not all of it. The second one takes the rest of my stamina and staggers me. And of course, if you've been staggered in this game many times, you usually understand that that usually leads to your death. So that can be a little bit scary, but you notice here, it's not killing me, and then he's recovering and taking a long time, and I have plenty of time to get back up and let my stamina recover. Alright, so we're going to see that again here. And it is really important in this fight, as you can see right here, to make sure that you are targeted on him, just to get the right angle to block, but also to give you a little bit of heads up as to where you are in the arena. If I had gone back much further, or if I was sort of free targeting, I might have walked off the back. So that is one thing you do need to watch out for. Alright, so in order to do some damage to him, and not just constantly block Rain of Fires, we need to bait out his Cone of Fire attack. And part of this strategy is to always stay further away from his body than his head is. So out in front of his head and over to the side. And that's two-part. The first is, as long as you're out in front of him, he won't do any of his other attacks. So it'll only be Rain of Fire and Cone of Fire. And if you are off to his side, then you'll actually get a pretty good warning as to when the Cone of Fire is going to happen. Now, if you're standing directly in front of him and he starts to do the Cone of Fire, all he's going to do is rear back a little bit and start breathing. But as you can see here, he actually has to turn to face me, and there I get some warning and some time to react to it. And that's when I'm going to target his nearest leg and start throwing any type of spell or damage I can at it. You can actually do this with arrows too if you really are patient. How does that differ for melee players? Well, it's not actually that much different. When I first did this on new game mode, I only was able to lightning spear him down to about 20%, then I was just stuck with my claymore. So the difference really is that instead of just running over to the side and casting spells at him, you actually have to run in, and right here I would run all the way into his toes and start smacking his toes. And you want to do that just once or twice, just to stay safe. And as soon as he's done with his breathing, you want to drop your target and run back to where you were out here on the edge, and then pick up your target again and get ready to block. Now, how many times is he going to do the Rain of Fire as opposed to the Cone of Fire? Is it possible to bait one specifically out? And I've seen some internet videos claim that they're able to always bait out the Cone of Fire. And I have not been able to do it, and I wouldn't rely on it. Generally, the way I went into this was to say, okay, he's probably going to go 1 for 1 at least. He's going to do a Cone of Fire, then a Rain of Fire, then a Cone. So every time I finish off an attack, I generally switch straight back to the shield so that I'm already ready for him to fly up and ready for him to block it. Alright, and we're just going to continue our circling around, walking backwards as we're blocking, absorbing the Rain of Fire, and then recovering and getting ready to punish the Cone of Fire when it comes out. Now, where do you get the Gyrm Greatshield, in case you're wondering? The Gyrm Greatshield can be obtained in the Doors of Pharos from the Gyrm warriors there with the shields. And if you haven't been there or you want a little bit more information, I actually have a video on how to obtain that shield, as well as the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring +1 to make it a little better. It is not an item that you can get via just a static drop. You can't buy it, so you do actually have to farm for it. Fortunately, there's a lot of mobs that will drop it, and you can get it pretty reliably. But as far as I'm concerned, for this method of fighting, that shield really is necessary if you want to do it in a way that is the least frustrating. That was a lovely mistake there. Alright, anything else that you really need for this? Well, the answer is not really. You just need a chosen method of damage, whether it's melee or spells. Anything will work here. You just have to be a little bit more careful if you're melee, not to stay in too long and bait out any more attacks from him. He does have some very punishing attacks at close range, so you always want to be at further range out. Any other items that you should need? Well, for everything, I always do recommend the Chloranthy Ring. I think once you can get one, you're going to put it on, you're never going to take it off again. I usually go with a Chloranthy +1 on New Game, which you can get in the Shaded Woods. The most reliable method is just stick your right shoulder on the right wall as you go into the really shady, foggy area, and follow that around until you get a small ledge, path to a ledge, that'll lead up to a chest. Pretty easy to get. If you don't know where to get that, I have a useful items video that shows gathering up several items in the Shaded Woods area, including the Chloranthy Ring. Alright, as you can see, I've been burning him down, just keep it going around in a circle, just blocking the Rain of Fire every time it comes out, and punishing the Cone of Fire every time he goes to land it. Unfortunately, there's no way around it if you follow this method. It is a long fight, and you really are subject more than anything else to just being patient. Okay, we've got him down pretty low. I think one more cone of fire ought to do it. Let's see if he's going to oblige, and not this time. And he really just wants to give me a hard time here. Alright, he's turning in, so I'm going for the cone of fire. And here we go. Alright, that will do it for the Ancient Dragon. Alright, I hope this video helped you, and I hope to see you in the next video.